Exploration. Finding hidden wonders and whole planets of lush paradise or harsh winters, rocky shores or barren dunes, creatures of massive size or the tiniest of aliens. All uploaded to a mega server of discoveries that can be viewed by all. Charting and marking new species and new planets, old civilizations, alien languages, space freighter marketplaces, and galaxial wonders. Combat. Fighting off AI ships, freighters, bandits and raiders, robotic law enforcement, wild animals, monsters and aliens, sea whales and flying beasts, giant land creatures and ancient civilizations. Survival. Fighting off the cold black of the universe. The ice planets clawing at your life support. Shooting a cave out of a nearby mountain for warmth. Biohazards and deadly temperatures. A tiny man in a tiny ship with a tiny suit, facing the dangerous unknown. Upgrading. Making that tiny ship bigger. More guns and weapons, more light speed capabilities and distances, more spacesuit protection against planet conditions, a better weapon to take over enemy fleets and dangerous wildlife with. Crafting and discovering, finding entire new alien languages, learning to better barter with NPCs, an entire new element table built from the ground up, to mine precious minerals that interact with each other in different, perhaps volatile, ways. Destiny, to be a trader, a miner, a merchant, a fighter, a pirate, a dweller, an outlaw, a survivor, an explorer. And with a universe that becomes increasingly more bizarre and alien as you find your way towards the center of it all, with rare but increasingly larger chances to meet other players on your journey as you get closer to the biggest mystery the game will let you discover. What lies at the center? This is No Man's Sky. Hello everybody, my name is MechaWill, and as you can see, I'm super excited about No Man's Sky. Now, the reason I started off the video with that whole speech about all the things you can do is that for the past couple of years that this game has been announced and subsequently things have been revealed and leaked and shown about the gameplay, the only question I keep hearing about this game is, what do you do? So I gave you a list of all the things that you can do. And of course, I'm sure I missed quite a few things that you can actually do. In fact, there's perhaps much more that you can do. The developers are being incredibly tight-lipped about it, even with everything that I just gave you, as far as exploration and survival and all that kind of stuff. And that's what kind of brings me to what I want to discuss about today, which is gaming expectations, and what we as a gaming community kind of think about what things are worth, what value is, and what kind of things that we expect from games now as a whole. Now, I'd like to just start right off and say that gaming in general is such a broad, way broader than it was even 10 years ago as a subject. Like, it crosses so many different platforms and so many different things of viability. Like, you know, you can game on your cell phone, you can game on all sorts of things. Is it even fair? Is there even really a line to draw between like gaming and not gaming as far as, you know, all of the things that we do to provide entertainment with our lives, as far as like actually interacting with it as opposed to like movies and books and stuff like that? I would say no. I think there's a line there that's become increasingly blurred, and I love it. Because it really means that we're moving closer towards a society as a whole that doesn't section off gaming as a separate thing, but actually kind of molds it as part of just the human experience, which I believe it is. I think it's an intrinsic part of us to want to play and to want to interact and to enjoy ourselves, and that's everything that books and movies and everything like that does, which then of course garners a lot of interests, and artists come in, and that's what creates the beautiful things that we have today, which is why I'm a massive proponent of video games. Funnest things in the world, in my opinion, and they've been shunned for a long time, and I feel like that's a little bit unfair. But let's get into kind of the meat and potatoes of what this was supposed to be now that we've kind of gone through this long tangent. I wanted to discuss No Man's Sky. Communities in general, it's tough to get a good knack on like what gaming communities are as a whole, because they really are different, and you know, different games have different followings and stuff like that. But when it comes to a game like No Man's Sky, something that's quite obviously changing a huge, you know, landscape structure of what gaming is supposed to be, it really, like, I don't know. It feels to me like there's always going to be some sort of, group of people or crowd of people that are either not convinced or they found themselves like, you know, in some sort of trolling phase, or, you know, they just are clearly not, you know, impressed with what they've seen. And then that translates to, you know, general disdain towards the title, or towards the developers, or towards the people that actually do enjoy what they've seen so far about certain games. And then when you bring pricing into it, of course, this being tied into No Man's Sky being a $59.99, you know, full AAA retail game price game, it busts out a whole crowd of what's-its and what's-nots coming in trying to change and discuss and debate and throw things at each other, pixel-wise, because everybody's doing it behind a computer nowadays. So what I wanted to ask, I guess, all of you, and, you know, kind of give you my viewpoints on are, you know, what is the worth of a game, and what really decides not only pricing but how we view its value as a title. I think No Man's Sky is a perfect game for this because it, like I was starting off the video with, it runs into all of these questions about, what do you do? What's the game for? What's it about? Where's my guns? I want my CS:GO. Want to be able to shoot things and good stuff. Well, I mean, you know, you can shoot things, and that's awesome. I think it's been stated multiple times that the real direction of the game is focused towards an explorer capability. It's a scientific exploration game, but my God, I mean, if you can't find something to do in that game with that long list, like, I don't know. I really wish that this video would be like, you know, at least referenced, you know, when anybody asks that question, where, you know, they don't have to listen to this part here, you know, my bullshit coming out. They just have to see the first part of the video, where I don't even start with any dialogue or anything like that. It's just layered what you can do, what's already been confirmed, and what hasn't been confirmed, because, to be honest, there's been a lot that hasn't been confirmed, and I'm really excited for. So what do we expect from games nowadays? I feel like there are certain expectations put on length, put on content, put on quality of the games, and I also feel like a lot of that, in my opinion, is being subverted by what I believe to be the core of the experience, which is a great experience. That's what it's building. And a lot of people bring up games like Journey and stuff like that. I think that's also very valid, because Journey was a game that was only like 2 hours long, but to a lot of people was a massively enjoyable experience, and maybe even worth more than the $20 that, you know, a lot of people spent on that game, or $15, whatever the game retails at. So, I guess I'll come out and say kind of what I think about all of this stuff. First of all, there's no doubt in my mind that No Man's Sky is well worth the $60 that people are paying for it. There's a collector's edition for like $120 or something like that for the PC, which is super cool. Again, I think super well worth the money. The developers, it's a super small team. I mean, I know they have Sony's backing, but the actual developers of this game are like somewhere between 8 and 16 total. That's the whole shebang of the group, is being able to get all those people in there. And I feel like not only should their efforts, you know, be rewarded and all that kind of stuff, which is, you know, the money is there to kind of compensate for the work that they've been doing. You know, we're paying for a service that they provided for us. But also, like, so yeah, I feel like that does need to be taken into consideration. I feel like, you know, certain like the amount of effort that goes into a game, because it's been brought up, you know, with certain things like, because we keep a $60 standard for a lot of our games, and that's what we feel like a lot of AAA experiences, AA experiences, regular experiences are worth, and that's cool. So now we've got a standard. But what happens when you get games like The Witcher, or you get games like Fallout, or something that's like a massive experience, clearly a 500-hour long, like, handcrafted journey, where people have, like, would we consider paying more for those games? Because most of the cries that I hear, or at least I read, are, oh, well, this game's only 8 hours long. I wouldn't fucking pay $30 for that game. It's, you know, it's not even worth 20 of my time, but they're charging $60 for it. Why, my God. Well, I am crafting, you know, internet strawman right now, but I feel like, and I feel like you all know the type of personality I'm trying to convey, and, you know, stuff like that has been, like, said to a T. So I don't think I'm being crazy about it. And what do you say? Because there's certain game experiences that I've said to myself, Specifically, Star Wars Battlefront is the freshest in my mind, where I thought to myself, you know what? To me, this game's worth about $29.99. I feel like there was not a ton of content in that game. I feel like it was super shallow. I feel like the money that I paid for it was kind of wasted, and in that sensibility, I have to like ask myself, okay, so then do we have to go through a whole rating system, and who gets to decide which is which? And is it because of all of that trouble where, you know, people like individually will have to decide what it's worth? You know, the people that don't like the 2-hour experience of Journey or felt gypped or whatever, you know, you get into this whole like there's no way to variably price or create a structure that would, you know, rate, you know, how much a game is worth to a cent. It's not really, I mean, that'd be a tough enterprise to jump on. But conversely, I feel like there should be a baseline. And to me, what I said earlier, my baseline is a good game to me is a great experience, and that can be crafted in many ways. Content brings normally good experiences because it allows you a variety of stuff to experience. Without the content there, it's hard to really experience anything. So when you get into the absolute fuckery that was Star Wars Battlefront, you play it for about a week and you decide, hey, there's really no story mode, co-op kind of sucks, there's a very small selection of maps, a very small selection of like good game modes, yada yada yada. I'm not trying to push my own personal opinions on that game onto you guys, but that's when you start thinking to yourself, you know what, this game, because of a couple of things, because of, you know, of the content, and because of what it was clear that most of the time was spent on, and what I would have valued a company like DICE to bring out with subsequent titles like, you know, Battlefield and stuff like that, I really did feel like that game was worth less money than it retailed for. Now let's compare that to No Man's Sky. Now, No Man's Sky has a breadth of content, which we've already seen. Now, I guess I try to like come up with a lot of the arguments that are against it, which are, you know, basically that it's really marketed towards a certain kind of person, and there's, you know, I think it's wrong, but a lot of people say, you know, there's not a lot of things to do in the game. And I guess that frustrates me a lot, which is why I made that the topic of today's video. To me, I think bringing that great experience that, you know, games are all about, to me, can come from a number of different things, and I don't know, I feel like something like No Man's Sky, or, you know, something that's a shorter game that has, you know, great experiences but less content, like Journey or something like that, is something that should be valued more with today's gamers. These are my personal opinions, of course, so it's not like something that I can just jump down, you know, and proclaim for all. But I don't know. I guess I want to hear what most people think, you know, and why somebody would have, you know, with the information at the start of this video, the gall to say that something like No Man's Sky is just not worth, you know, $60 for most people, or just not worth, you know, not a substantial enough game with what's in there. So yeah. Games to me, they're about experiences, and great experiences can come from many different things. Stuff like, you know, Uncharted and other different story-based games, Mass Effect, yada yada. You know, they bring the experiences by giving a great story and great characters and awesome dialogue, and the game doesn't have to be necessarily that long or necessarily that wide as far as traveling goes, but it can bring a wonderful, you know, story experience out of just that. So I guess it all boils down to, there's many different things that you can make a great experience out of, but there has to be something there to create the great experience. And you can compensate for different things. You know, you can have a really wonderful story that might be short, and I feel like that's worth just as much as a game that's incredibly long and drawn out, and has millions of things to do, but the story is obviously not a focal point. Now, that doesn't mean that you know, the second game, it sounded negative, that doesn't mean that's bad. I think I'd compare something like that, like, to something like, you know, you know, something like Mass Effect or something like, you know, a good game that has, you know, wonderful story. I just bring up Uncharted because I'm sure a lot of people here are PlayStation fans. As compared to like Skyrim or Oblivion, which are in my heart forever. I will have my ass branded with a tattoo of the Skyrim logo as soon as I get the courage to come up with it. But you know, you have Skyrim's like much more of an explorative game that doesn't have really, you know, doesn't really focus on the narrative. It's got a great lore and backstory, which is something I really also value in games. You can tell people really put their time and effort into games when it has good lore, because lore is something that's really only like for the nerds, which would be me. That's why Dark Souls is my favorite game series. Deep in the lore, I like it deep. And you know, I feel like that's just as good as a game, you know, as something like Uncharted. So, I guess down to, now that we've gotten all kind of boiled it down a little bit, that's what I feel. I feel like a game has to, you know, obviously there has to be something there, but it can be, you know, it can be swapped and switched out for other elements that may make it, you know, more fulfilling in a different way. So, what do you think about that? Is there a certain baseline, like specifically, let's just talk about like how long a game has to be. Is there a specific baseline that a game has to be a certain length before we value it? And do you feel cheapened by something that's only a couple hours long but you paid full price for? Sometimes I would say yeah, but that's only if, but again, you know, following my standards, that's only if it really didn't bring much more, like it didn't compensate that time with something, you know, equally as valuable in my game time, like deeply impacting emotional experience like supposedly Journey is. I've never played Journey. I keep bringing up this game, but I've actually never played it myself. So yeah, as long as it's balanced out, I feel like it's there. And then when you get into games like Witcher, I personally would happily pay something like $100 for Witcher. I feel like that's fair because there's a lot more work that went into that game, a lot of development that went into handcrafting specific parts, and it didn't really have to make up anywhere. It had graphics, had exploration, had story, it really had pretty much everything that kind of functions as a phenomenal game title all in one. Which is good. You get the goodies all in one. That's what you want. Yeah. Games are such a lively, like, cultural, vibrant thing to me that it's kind of disheartening to see a certain, you know, vitriol towards specific games just because they're, you know, just because they offer something a little different. Now, in No Man's Sky's case, it offers game-changing, like, and by the game, I mean the game of life. Like, it changes the gaming atmosphere in general. Like, it's massive. It sizes and everything. So my girlfriend tells me. But, I don't have a girlfriend. But the joke was good. But it's like, I lost my train of thought because now I'm thinking about penis jokes. Anyway, it's, you know, when you get into something like No Man's Sky, it's, you know, it's... When you get into something like No Man's Sky and its breadth and width and all of that jazz, it's kind of amazing to me that there would be that vibrant community out there that would say something like that. And it may just be a lack of communication. It might just be people wanting to hate on the game just because they hate on it. And it might just be that third party that's just like, you know what? I see everything that's happens in there, and I'm cool. Don't want it. Don't need it. And that is your absolute prerogative. Well, games are valuable to me. Valuable to the human experience. They're valuable to everyday life and being able to not only release tensions, but help you not only help you relax, but then also help you like travel into different lands and to see different things and to experience a million lifetimes instead of you're just boring old one working in your paper factory, freaking line worker getting, you know, paper cuts on the daily, because that sucks. I've never been a paper worker before. but I heard that would not be a great experience. And taking a game like No Man's Sky that's clearly not only trying to do something new and unique and original and make this, well, you know, don't jump on that comment. I know there's things that are procedurally generated out there, but being able to like bring it all together in this cohesive like sci-fi exploration experience that really like not only tried to work on the big but also tried to work on the little with the mining and the different things that you can do with survival and stuff like that. It entices me. It makes me feel great that things like that are on the horizon, which is awesome. So to me, to wrap it up, games to me are an experience, and what a game is worth, it definitely changes. I think that's fair, and I'm sure we all knew that coming into this. But the only baseline that I would have for a game to be worth, my money and my time is, what kind of experience it can bring, and that comes in many different ways. That can come in the form of stories and all that kind of jazz. And in No Man's Sky's case, it's more than delivered on what it was supposed to. So I'm really excited for this title to come out. I know it's a June title, I believe, and we've got a couple of titles leading up to it that I'm really fantastically hoping are going to be amazing. I mean, I've got like pre-orders down and whatnot, but No Man's Sky I think is literally gonna do something massive. I think when it comes out, people are really gonna see, because I can I can research and I can show you and tell you different things, and so can other YouTubers and other people, writing on the internet and stuff like that. But until like the community as a whole can really see the game and see what I think it's gonna bring, and be like, whoa, he did something damn good, Sean Murray. He did it well. He crafted something beautiful, and we appreciate that. Or that's what I would say. I mean, when it comes out, that's what I will say. If I ever get the chance to meet Mr. Murray himself, I would let him know, you warmed my heart with your game. Assuming. Well, that's been my discussion. The topic here has been games and their value. No Man's Sky was a great game to discuss because of this. It was also a subtle way for me to share my excitement about No Man's fucking Sky! So, if you're with me, awesome. If you have your own dissenting opinions, type it on out and do the click-and-clack on ye old YouTube comments. It helps me out because that means there's people discussing on my video, which is cool, especially as a small YouTuber. But it also, as somebody that likes to think about these kinds of things, helps me see other opinions on, hey, you know what? It's even full of shit. Easy enough. Obviously give a reason for that, or I'm sure there's one comment that's just gonna be like, you're full of shit. All right. Alrighty. But yeah. So please, what do you think? What do you think games are worth in today's society? What do you think? What a game is made up of? What do you think that is worth? How do we define where we keep monetary values and baselines for different games? As in, is an indie always have to be $20, or can it be a $60 experience? Does independent really mean anything at all? When you see companies like Hello Games making No Man's Sky, and stuff like Hellblade, which is an independent AAA title. Does the name indie really mean anything at all, or is that something that people are making to slur and slash on games and bitch slap around? So you lovely people, please discuss with me below what you think. What do you think about the value of games? And also share your excitement for No Man's Sky, because my God, I feel like there's been lots of good press about the game. Every single person that's critiqued or reviewed it has been like, No Man's Sky is the greatest experience I've ever had in my life. It was better than watching my child be born. And but for some reason I just don't see it catching on. I know it's been a very drawn out experience for a lot of the people that are just casually following it. It's like, get hyped, it's gonna come out. It's a year later, get hyped, about to come out, and now it is actually about to come out, and I would love to see the hype for this game, because I think it deserves it. I think the team deserves it. I think the people working on it deserves it. And I feel like they're trying to balance really hard, keeping a tight lip on the operations of the game, whereas also revealing enough to satisfy the vocal people that are saying, What is your fucking game? What does it do? What does it mean? How do I put them together? How do I make it all work? And I'm here to possibly add some of my research and personal views on games into saying No Man's Sky. It's going to be great. It's going to be well worth the value. You're going to be able to do quite a few things in that, and I would pay my mother's soul to purchase this game on release day. Well, this is a MechaWill discussion, so please keep your comments in the comment whatever's below. It's more of a long form thing. Glad to be back. If you do, I appreciate if you like this kind of deal. We do a lot of other things on my channel here, but give it if you want to, give the video a like because it helps me out. And if you want to subscribe to see more content, that's what kind of fuels this whole ship going forward. So yeah, anyway, I appreciate if you guys have made it this far with my droning voice and my lovely narrative at the beginning. I know it's, yeah, I appreciate it. So anyway, thank you guys for dropping by, and I'll see you guys next time.